Hello, I am Heather Nielsen. I'm an abstract artist and I am also a golden arts educator and a silver brush educator. And one of the most common questions I get from new students is how to understand the different lines of acrylic paint with golden. And it can be a little confusing at first. You know, you go into the art supply store and you see a million things on the shelf, and you know, what is it all? And why would I use one over the other? So I'm going to just give you a very brief review of them and what I like about each for various reasons. So the biggest misconception, I just want to clear something up, is that someone may think that whether I use a fluid or a high flow or a heavy body paint, that the intensity of the color, the pigment load, is going to be different. But that's not necessarily the case. Regardless of what line you use, if you're using the same color, the pigmentation, the quality and the intensity of the pigmentation is the same. It's really about the thickness or not thickness, or what they call viscosity. So here's the first two I want to talk about are fluids and regular heavy bodies. So the fluids come in these bottles. They come in all different sizes. Here's a different size. Here's even a little smaller size. This is a 1 ounce. And these are very runny. They're like the consistency of milk. And they're lovely because they lay nice, pretty flat, and you can get a lot of coverage with a little bit of this. They also have heavy body, which is what a lot of us, when we're new to acrylics, we think of paint in these tubes. And the heavy body paint is the consistency of like peanut butter, like softish peanut butter. And it holds its texture and its brush strokes and its palette knife strokes. You get a little bit more texture with it. So sometimes if I want texture, I will use this. Or thickness, if I want it to go on thicker, I will use that. On the other end of the spectrum, you have high flow, and they come in these triangle caps. So when you see the goldens and they come in this triangle cap, that's the high flow. These are the only ones you need to shake. There's a little ball in it. The others you don't have to shake. You don't have to shake the fluids. And these are nice. They're even a little runnier than this, which is like cream or milk, and this is like water. But it's still really nice pigment, same amount of pigment in it. So you'll get that same intensity that you may be looking for. So let me demonstrate one of the ways that I like using the high flow is the reason they put them in one of the reasons they put in these little triangle caps is that you can essentially just twist the top. And I mean, I could pour a little bit out into a dish and paint with it. But another thing I could do is write with it. So I do love to do like ischemic writing and a little bit of a mark making with these. So then I just close the cap back up, I screw it back on, and that is it. And you can see it's fairly, like if I got it a little bit wet, or let's just say if I put a little bit more on here, you know, it'll drip. See, I can get great drips with this. It's fantastic because it's really runny. The next one, which I use a lot, especially in my smaller paintings, is is fluids. I like yellow ochre, the color, but I meant to say the fluid bottle. So these are these flat caps, and you pop the cap up, and sometimes I get a little gunky. You have to take that out, and you can, obviously put it right on your painting, but you could put it a little bit on your plate. And one of the misconceptions, especially if you're new to high quality professional grade paints like Goldens, is that you think you need a lot of paint. I always tell my students, start with just a few drops. This is like the size of a dime, especially if you're working on a smaller piece, and then you can always get more. One of the reasons is, again, you'll see how far it goes, but also the acrylics dry pretty fast. You know, in a typical room, a light layer is going to be dry in 10 to 20 minutes. So you don't want to just use a little bit and then let it dry up on your plate. So one of the things that, one of my favorite brushes to use with fluids are these Silver Silk 88. That's the line of silver brush paints, and it's these purple handles, and they come in all different sizes, different types of brushes. I love these flats. I think this is a 1 inch. And the nice thing is it's a synthetic filament, so it's nice and soft, so it really spreads. And you can see how much coverage I can get with just a little bit, and I didn't even use half of it. So if I take the rest of it, you're going to see how much coverage I'm going to get. And so it just flows on really nice. You can get lots of layers. If there's some interest, I will show you how you can even make this more fluid by adding mediums or water into it. You can get lovely transparent layers that way. So you can see just that little dime of paint got me pretty far. Okay, so the next line of paint is the heavy body I want to show you. So this is Mars Black. It's pretty common black. Carbon black tends to be the blackest. But if I squeeze a little bit out, I'm just going to put it right on here. You're going to see already that it's pretty textured. I mean, it's sitting on top. So it kind of holds its strokes, right? Its brush strokes. So if I take a palette knife, you know, I can get this sort of look. Now, you know, one's not better than the other. I do tend to go through phases. You can get just thicker stuff happening. The one thing I have found with the Silver Silk 88 brushes is they work great with fluids. You could also use them with this, but because they're so soft, I find really spreading it out a lot. If I'm going to be using a lot of heavy bodies, I see how I'm not spreading it as fast. I do tend to like to use a stiffer brush. So the stiffer brushes are usually like the more natural brushes. This is a Silverstone brush from Silver Brush. This is a lot for oil, but it also, it helps, those natural fibers and that thickness really help you move that heavy body. Now, will I only use this for heavy body Silverstones? No, there's tons of different brushes, especially from Silver Brush, which are really nice quality. But I do like the kind of stiffer natural hairs for heavy body. And but like I said, it's not like I won't use the Silver Silk 88. It's just you just have to know, you know, play around with your brushes to see how they work. Okay, so the other paint in the golden line is open. Golden's open. So it has this black, it's a tube typically, and the bottom half is black and it'll say open on it. So the difference between this and this, well, obviously I have different colors here, but just generally in terms of what they do, regular acrylics, like this is going to be dry probably in 15 minutes easily. It's not too thick. And some people want it to take longer to dry. They want more working time with it. They maybe have a bigger piece. They don't want it to dry so fast as acrylics, especially oil painters tend to really have a hard time adjusting to how quickly the acrylics dry. So the opens take 10 times as long to dry. So let's say this is about 10-15 minutes. This is going to take about an hour to dry instead, depending on the room. So you get a lot more working time. They're a little bit softer than the regular heavy bodies, but I would say they're probably a little bit more similar to the heavy body than they are to the fluids. So if I take my palette knife again, And see, I can get some strokes with this. And the nice thing with the palette knife is I can really scrape in, go over the paint. But I can also get some texture, some physical height with it. And that's going to take longer to dry, which in some cases is helpful. Okay, the last line of paint I wanted to share with you is a relatively newer line of paint from Golden, which is So Flat. So Flat does what it says. It goes on pretty flat, like you're not going to get these textures, right? And then and then also it doesn't have much sheen to it. So when it dries, it's going to dry very matte. And some people really like that look. Some people I have heard really like how it photographs because it doesn't have a lot of sheen. And now if I take a clean brush, let's see what I have here. Take this one. And I put it here. I mean, you can already tell that that's pretty matte and how flat it dries. So that's really fun things to play around with. I hope you learned something with this. Love for you to follow and subscribe to my channel. And my plan is to put out some more tips if there's interest. So leave a comment, share it with your friends, try out the different lines, and tell me what you think. All right. Thank you so much for watching.